Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Talk Tuesday Summer Series, August 13th. It's hard to believe we are already in August, but we all hope you are having a wonderful, healthy, and enjoyable summer. We do thank you for being with us today because we do realize it is summertime, but we have some great content and information to get you going, get you ready for your school year, so we can have this focus from the start. So we do thank you, and we're grateful that you're taking some time today to be with us. And as always, welcome. I am Christine Kilwind. I am here with my colleague, Holly Ryan. Anne-Marie Cardisco couldn't join us today. We are from the State Education Resource Center. We are also here today with our CSDE partners and colleagues, Kari Sullivan-Custer from the State Department, and Jay Brown, who also couldn't be with us today, but will be with us again. We have some special presenters and a presentation today on Attendance and Engagement 101, Back to Basics. We have Caroline Calhoun, who is the Professional Learning and Attendance Specialist and LEAP Coordinator at EdAdvance. We also have Emily McLean, who is the SRBI Assessment and LEAP Coordinator with Hampden Public Schools, and we are so thankful that you're here with us. At the end, I'll just give you kind of a heads up for any announcements that are on their way. And as always, we love to put together kind of the Superintendent's Digest to give you the highlights of what might be out there. And especially this time of year, there's a lot on the horizon. So I did put some things for July, just there might be some great resources for you to tap into, but we also have some August things as well. The third annual School Staff Appreciation Digital Backpack is currently is still going. I think there's some end dates in August, but that is still in the progress. There is also some reevaluations with the Department of Public Health on Radon. ARP and ESSER redistribution document. There is August learning opportunities for defined learning and defined careers. I believe they're more towards the end of August, August 20th-ish. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to look at that. Also, we have a summary of education, the legislation enacted in 2024 regular session. It is really a good document because there is some legislation, not only just on the horizon for 2024, but some things I noticed that are also going to hit in 2025 to start planning for in 2024. There is a memorandum on a 3-year pricing for core reading. We also have the Education Financial System, also known as EFS, is open for filing for the fiscal year 23-24. So that data you could find there. There's a designation of certification shortage areas. It's an important document, especially if you're really struggling to find certain positions in your district, and maybe that there could be some designation in there, or DSAP possibly within there. So that document might be of help for you. Looking to update your district's contacts with CSDE. This is the time of year for that, as there are transitions within districts. So just making sure that CSDE knows the contact information is always helpful on our end and all the ends to know exactly who is the one to reach out to when need be. The new EdSite dashboard on due credit courses is complete. There is a survey also for vacancies in teaching endorsements, special service endorsements, and instructional paraprofessionals. The great news here is they're announcing some LEAP relational home visit training. That's a link also provided. So, and of course, we'll probably even touch base on that too. And we have the 24-25 minimum budget requirements, also known as NBR. If you're interested in any of these, you could always click on the links provided here or the QR code, or go to CSDE Superintendent's Digest, and it will be all there for you to look at. And right now I'm going to stop sharing. Kari Sullivan-Custer has a little bit of information. So Kari, I'm going to stop and turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me put there. Share my screen. We've been doing this for so long now. I don't know why I get nervous sharing my screen, but
it looks great, Kari.
You got it?
Yeah, I do. I see it. It looks good.
Okay, perfect. Let me let Ryan Brown in. I can't see you all. Well, that's the bad part. Well, welcome to Talk Tuesday, our summer series. We are entering our 5th year of Talk Tuesdays, which is amazing. I want to see everybody. Okay, there we go. This summer series, we've called it boot camp before. It's attendance 101. If you I see lots of familiar faces. I just want to reach out and say hello to some of you. I see Kenneth and Bobby Tar, Rachel Allison. Hi everyone. Well, the good news is the chronic absence data hasn't officially been released from the State Department of Education, but we saw a nice reduction last year. We went from 20% to 17.7, and that's almost 12,000 students who are no longer chronically absent. I just start off with the good news. This wasn't in order, but I just also want to say that 158 of 205 districts saw a reduction in chronic absence this year. Some of us saw really nice reductions in kindergarten, some in ninth grade, and we will be featuring that and celebrating that in the future. There will be announcements coming out from the State Department of Education. So let me go to my next slide here. So the goals of the summer session, I just want to set the stage for everyone, is to deepen your knowledge of key resources and tools to support student attendance improvement. This is designed sort of for those people who might be new to a position on attendance, or those who want just a refresher because it's the beginning of the school year. I want to hear what's new. It's an opportunity every other Tuesday to share and learn effective strategies that can be implemented across schools and districts. We look to you to be our partners in Talk Tuesday so that you can help us. We need volunteers. It doesn't have to be a big success. It can be little successes because they add up to big successes. We want to engage in discussions where we can build a strong community of practice that supports ongoing effort. A data-driven decision-making. We're going to focus on equipping you with the skills to analyze and use data effectively in your attendance strategies. We all know in Connecticut, we start with the data. We have very rich data. We are one of the only districts or states to collect and share monthly attendance data. And next week, we're going to have the performance office come on for Talk Tuesday. It's not in 2 weeks. It's actually next week during the summer, and talk about data and how to access the data reports. And we want to prepare you for the school year. So these sessions will help ensure that you're ready to tackle attendance challenges in the upcoming school year. You'll leave with practical insights you can immediately apply to reduce chronic absence. Hopefully you'll connect with peers and experts. Feel free to use the chat, make connections, build those relationships among ourselves, and gain access to updated tools and guides that will aid in your attendance efforts. You're going to benefit from opportunities throughout the year to Talk Tuesdays is where we always share the newest information. We even run things by Talk Tuesday before we issue it to get feedback. So Talk Tuesdays is a place to really stay in touch with what's happening around chronic absence attendance and engagement. So state supports, I just want to share that we'd love to hear from you. Resources, strategies, and best practices, please feel free to contact me. If you have questions regarding data collection and reporting, Kendra Shakir is in our performance office and really, really helpful. Just to give everyone, where do I go to get information? Some slides on our webpage. I know SDE has a wonderful reputation for its website and that everything's very easy to find, but I wanted to make it easier for you. So here you'll see a chronic absence web page, and I got a little fancy here. I'm gonna morph and make the font bigger so you can see what resources are here. So on the main page, you'll find the definition of student attendance, which now includes a definition for remote attendance, both of which are a student has to be in school for half of their regularly scheduled school day to be counted as attendance. This is just an example, but let's just say we had half day kindergarten. If a student was to come for half day kindergarten, that was a regular scheduled day, they had to come for half of it. If there's a half day of school, they have to come for half of that half day. Where it gets a little tricky is in high school, where our seniors and such are leaving on off-site kind of experiences, whether it's internships or job training at EB or Electric Boat. We have to be able to make sure we're tracking their attendance so that they're accurate, so that they're getting credit for all of their time. We've seen a big uptick in grade 12 attendance issues in a lot of our districts. Overall, as a state, it went down a little tiny bit, but I think we need to really work on that. So the definition of student attendance, there's a link here for the EdSite data portal, annual and monthly chronic absence. There's a link for the learner engagement and attendance program, which we train home visitors in any district, not just our LEAP funded grant. We train anybody, and Caroline's going to provide more information about that. Reducing chronic absence in kinetic schools. This is the prevention intervention guide. I'll talk about that in a minute. There's bright spots, how to improve high school student attendance. We have a School is Better with You campaign with lots of nice messaging and artwork and things you can download for, nothing for free. A lot of it is translated. And then we have a Talk Tuesday webpage. So let me go to the next slide. All of that's on our chronic absence webpage. Here is the website and the QR code if you want to go there. I wanted to, you see over here, there is an how-to page, documents, forms, related resources, and laws and regulations. I'm skipping over the how-to page because I realize that needs some updating. But if you go to the related resources, I've kept that pretty up to date. You'll have the attendance awareness campaign. An e-learning series was recorded, which is great in-depth training on attendance from Attendance Works, and Caroline was part of that. Calhoun. We have our full equal and equitable partnerships for families guidance on how to do family engagement. There's the guidelines for excused and unexcused absences. Those have not been updated. They have been in draft form, but they have not been released. There's guidance on the mental health and wellness days if you have questions about that. The prevention intervention, school health assessments and immunizations. There's guidance on that and how to use what schools can do and communities can do to support families so that they can get immunizations as soon as possible and start school right away. Tracking daily attendance on remote days. And then Appendix F and Appendix L down here are part of our PSIS reference guide. And there's a lot of details in that about when and how to withdraw students or transfer students. We know since last year that we cannot withdraw a student unless a parent is transferring them to another school, unless they are 17 years of age and their parent comes in and signs them out. And at that time, they have to certify that they're going to adult ed. Students have to be enrolled in adult ed at 17 to withdraw from school. Next slide. I think that's the same thing. I also included a slide, and all of these links will be available when you open. There's a lot of laws around state statutes around chronic absence, of duties of parents, ages, policies and procedures regarding truant. I just wanted to make sure you had all of these. I think one of the most important ones to know is 10-198C that requires all districts with a chronic absence rate of 10% or higher, which is most of ours, to have district attendance teams that meet on a regular basis. And the prevention intervention guide has information about those teams. And if your schools have 15% or higher chronic absence, they're required to have school attendance teams. So pretty much every school and district are required to have attendance teams that meet on a regular basis. And we have the guidance, and we will talk about that a little bit today and throughout the year. Any questions? Here is the Reducing Chronic Absence in Connecticut Schools Prevention Intervention Guide. Over on the left is the navigation of the different chapters. This was issued back in 2017, and it's pretty much still very, very helpful. Here are the sections. There's an introduction, and it's very basic. Other states have taken this and copied it, we did this with attendance works, but it's what is chronic absence? What is this? Why are students chronically absent? Why is it important? And how do we know if it's affecting learning in our districts? We know that now. And then there's a section on what districts can do, what schools can do, and what you can do as a community. And it goes in detail also about the multi-tiered approach to reducing chronic absence. Next slide. So I wanted to show you how to get to the data really quickly. Again, this is going to come next week. The performance office is going to come. But if you go to the SDE main page, most of you have probably heard of EdSite, and you click on EdSite, there are two dashboards in EdSite. There's the one that's been here for many, many years, the chronic absence website that where you'll find our annual end of year final official data. So the 2024 data has just been uploaded, and for every district, it's here on that chronic absence page. So be sure to check it. You can search by school and you can search by student group. So that is the work of your district team and your school attendance teams to really be looking at this data, either at the state level or at your local level, to find out who are the students who are missing most school. And then we have the attendance dashboard, which was new last year, that you can look at monthly attendance, yearly attendance, and truancy, and you can download data. And I just zoomed in on this a little bit. So this was just updated last week. So in 2023-24, we know that 87,397 students were chronically absent. That's about 12,000 less than last year. We know that of those 87,000, 62,000 were students of color. That's 23% of our students of color were chronically absent. That is down from from 25.9 the year before. So every student group is seeing a reduction in chronic absence. Students eligible for free or reduced lunch are almost 61% of our students, or 27.5% of that group are chronically absent. Students with disabilities is high, 27.2, but it's down from 30. You'll see we've got our multilingual learners. You'll see the number of the students, and you'll see their percentage rate for chronic absence. And again, our homeless are our highest rate of students with chronic absence. And 2,500 students were chronically absent. And up here is the annual data. So our highest point was 2 years ago in 22. We were at 23.7. We went to 20, and now we're at 17.7. We are working our way down to where our long time, for many years, we were at about 10%, and that's our goal, to get below 10%. It's going to take a couple years, but we're getting there. All right. Oops. This is data by grade level, and it's a little hard to see, but you can see kindergarten was at 18.5 last year. It was at 23.7. We saw our biggest improvement in chronic absence in kindergarten, which is super exciting. We also saw it trend through first, second, third, and fourth grade, right around 12, 13%. Starts to go up again at sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade, ninth grade, and all the way up to 27.1% in grade 12, with much smaller improvements in the high school years. So we know where we want to keep our attention on these early years, and we need to focus our attention on keep our focus on attention to the high school years. Grade 9, we had seen a nice decline of chronic absence from 22 to 23, but not as much of a decline to 24. And this just shows from last year to this year. And I'll just give you a minute to look at that. Okay. Any questions? Has anybody seen their chronic absence data from last year on EdSite? Anyone want to share, like any findings that they were surprised or excited about? So again, contact us. We're here. We love to hear from you. Makes my day when I hear from the districts. That's how I can help and connect you to resources and answer questions about policies. Things get complicated with attendance. Um, so I just want you to know that you can call us for that. And then as I wrap up my remarks, I want to acknowledge the incredible work that each of you are doing. Addressing chronic absence is not an easy task. Trying to find my slides, my notes. 1 second. And it requires dedication, creativity, and a deep commitment to every student's success. The challenges are real, but so is the impact that you can make. Every time you help a student return to consistent attendance, you're changing lives. Your work is crucial because it lays the foundation for the academic achievement and long-term success of these students. If we can get them to come to school on a regular basis, we will see the result. Reducing chronic absence isn't just about improving statistics. It's about opening doors to opportunities and helping students build the habits they need to thrive. I want to thank you all for your dedication and passion. Your efforts are making a difference. We see this in the data, and together we're creating a brighter future for all students in our state. Let's continue to push forward, knowing that every step brings us closer to ensuring every child has the opportunity to succeed. And I thank you all from the bottom of my heart, sincerely, for all of the work that you're doing. And at this point, I'm going to take my slides down, sharing, and introduce you to my colleague, Caroline Calhoun, who is an education consultant. I'm not going to get her title right. She's going to get her slides up there for me, at EdAdvance. And she's my partner in crime in a lot of things, attendance, and she is the co-coordinator of the Learner Engagement and Attendance Program. I want to give a shout out to Francisco Perez because he is also the co-coordinator of the Learner Engagement Attendance Program we call LEAP. And he's also here on the call. I see you, Francisco. And turn this over to Caroline Calhoun. Thank you.
Thank you, Kari. Christine, I know we were just having a little side text thread about some tech stuff. I don't know if anyone else is also seeing some gray boxes on the slides. I'm seeing some nods, so I'm not sure what's going on formatting wise.
Is it
But
still, Caroline, is it, because I switched to Google, so you still see it?
I am still seeing it. I don't know what that is all about.
Don't know either. Okay. Let me do one more switch. Give me 1 minute.
While Christine is working on the tech back end, I just wanted to say good morning to everybody. Thank you for the introduction, Kari. Thank you for all of that information. I think I've met a lot of you who are on this morning. So my name is Caroline Calhoun. I am a professional learning specialist at EdAdvance, which is one of the 6 regional education service centers in the state. We are up in the northwest corner, the Northwest Hills and Litchfield, and my background is in 20 years of teaching 5th and 6th grade humanities. I just left the classroom 3 years ago and really dove into all things attendance, working alongside Kari and Francisco, who is at CREC. I also do a lot of DEI work, social studies work, as is the norm for consultants. We wear many hats, but what I really love about the attendance and engagement work is that it feels like the intersection of everything that we do as educators, because if we're not getting our kiddos to show up to school, then all of the other good work we're doing is really all for naught. So Christine, I am still seeing those boxes. Is anyone else seeing them? It's not just me, is it?
Not just you. And I have no clue then where the boxes are coming from. Because now what I did is I got out of it and I actually shared the slides you sent me in the email. So it's something on my Zoom. I'm
Want me
wondering.
to try and share her slides?
That would be wonderful. Thank you, Kari.
Yep, let me find it. Caroline. You sent them yesterday, Caroline?
I did. I can also try to drop them in the chat if you need me to.
Okay.
Let me just go to the deck.
Did you send them as an attachment or as a Google link?
I think it's a Google link.
That one.
Here, I can just grab.
I downloaded it, but it might not be the latest version. You want me to use what I downloaded?
I'm just copying it right now. Let me drop it in the chat for you.
And meanwhile, I'm going to go behind the scenes and see what I can do about that. So thank you for sharing right now and let me see what's going on.
There you go, Kari. I just popped them in there for you.
Okay.
Thank you, team.
We put it in slideshow. Beginning. Share slide. 2.
Beautiful. All right, so no secrets at all with any of the information I'm sharing with you all. If you would like to type in that tiny URL to your browser, you're welcome to grab those slides right now. I know that Cirque will send them out later, merged with Kari and Emily's slides as well. There's a QR code there. If that's easier, feel free to grab that with your phone. But you are welcome to get right into the slide deck with me and follow along if that suits your personal style. And we can, yep, we can go on to the next slide. Thank you. And I think I just introduced myself. We can skip ahead. All right, so I'd love to just kind of build a little community here while we're together this morning. I know there's a fairly small number of us here online together, but I imagine folks will also be watching the recording later. But if we can just highlight the positive, what is something positive happening either in your personal life, your professional life, as we head to the end of August and kicking off this next school year. I'd love if you could either unmute to share or drop it in the chat if you feel more comfortable. And I can kick us off with something positive. My father is 84 years old and going strong. Had a heart valve replacement and pacemaker put in earlier this summer and is doing beautifully. And is about to be discharged from the visiting nursing visits and doing really well. So I'm feeling very grateful for family and good health of those that are in my tight-knit family circle. So really happy about that. And I'd love anyone else to share. Francisco, Christine, our CERT crew. I see Kenneth on here, Sarah Duso. Anyone feel free to unmute and share anything happening in your life that you would like to share.
Hey everybody, sorry to pounce right in, but we had an amazing Leap 101 with folks from across the state and some friends out in California and Maine joined. So shout out to all the districts who made the first Leap 101 of this training cycle a success.
Awesome work, Francisco. Thank you. Feel free to unmute. Anyone else have something to share?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Duso. I am very excited to be coming back to the role of principal in my district at the school that I attended and was principal at before. So I am ready to get their 30% chronic absenteeism rate down to 5%. Not in the first year, but I will.
I love that you're the principal at the school you actually attended.
I know.
That is full circle energy there. I love it. And I'm seeing lots of things coming through from the chat. Joe, congratulations on your oldest son's marriage. Kari, that your niece is having a baby. Great, Auntie Kari. I love it. And Tanya, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Oldest daughter heading to college next week. Oh my goodness. Emily, thank you. Launching Hamden Public Schools LEAP program beginning of August. Mark, wow, your mom's 89th birthday. Jill, grandson turned 3 this summer and loves to swim in the lake. This is what it's all about, right, team? Amanda, moving into my first home at the end of the month. Congratulations. Wow, Rachel, a half marathon coming up. That is awesome. Youngest son, school at Ohio State. Wow, look at all this. Kenneth, being intentionally working on being healthy. So good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for sharing. This is, it's exciting to hear about what's happening not only in our work lives, but also what's keeping us motivated, energetic, and passionate outside of our educator world. So thank you for taking a moment to share. Let's go to the next slide.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. I was looking at data.
Role reversal. So before we really get into the nuts and bolts today about attendance and engagement, and this is designed to be a back to basics series, so I imagine we have a wide range of expertise here on the call and folks who will be watching the recording later, and that's fine. If there's information from today that you already know, great, that's excellent. Feel free to pass this along to anybody who might be newer to the work in your district. But let's just think big picture for a minute about your school, about your district, and think about what are the root causes and the reasons for absenteeism that you're seeing in your building? What are the barriers that you are noticing to attendance in your district, in your building? And are there any patterns or themes that are standing out to you? Go ahead, feel free to unmute, feel free to pop your ideas, your thinking in the chat, and let's just have a quick conversation about this. Bobby sharing people going on vacation, definitely something that's affecting attendance during the school year.
I think one of the root causes, we're still rebuilding from the pandemic, kind of changing that culture of not being in school physically.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kenneth. Other root causes, reasons, barriers you all are noticing, or patterns that are standing out to you? Thank you, Elaine. Parents are working, students are expected to get up on their own, high school level. Absolutely. We've talked a lot behind the scenes, and I know everybody does during their district and school attendance team meetings, thinking about the differences of barriers for those elementary level students versus secondary, and why we're seeing those numbers be so stubborn to come back down, especially at the secondary level in terms of autonomy, right? So sometimes it's a benefit for kiddos for K through 5 that may have parents and family members who are, you know, helping them get to school every day. Whereas for high schoolers, sometimes that lack of or having more independence can be challenging. And so there's kind of pros and cons to both ends of the spectrum. Thank you, Mark. Many families take extended vacations, legitimate illnesses, somebody added anxiety, sense of urgency among families about absent students. Definitely homeless rates have gone up. So we know there are lots of challenges, right? If we go to the next slide, we've kind of gathered a lot of data from across the state in our working with districts over the last couple of years since the pandemic. Kari, do you mind going to the next slide?
No.
Thank you. So these patterns that have emerged over the last few years across the state really can be categorized into these different buckets. So lots of things to do with transportation, medical, when we think about different socioeconomic pieces to the puzzle, this notion of parents understanding or valuing attendance and education is certainly playing a role. Also, often we find that families might be having difficulty understanding policies when it comes to attendance. And that can be challenging. Different family matters or obligations, discipline can play a role in this. When you looked at Kari's data at the beginning of this, all of those different categories when it comes to students with high needs are definitely, you know, a focus area for all of us working on attendance and engagement. And then staffing shortages. Folks have difficulty getting substitutes in buildings or filling all of the roles. And so all of these different things sort of have a ripple effect when we think about attendance and engagement. So we just want you to know that you're not alone in these patterns you're noticing and the different reasons and barriers that you have found. Next slide, please. So when we think about building context for this work of attendance and engagement, I would ask that we just think about any school or district-wide initiatives that might have been put forward by your administration in the last few years. Feel free to just unmute, call them out, and can be anything, any sort of initiatives that have risen to the forefront in the last few years. Go ahead. Feel free to add to the chat or just unmute and share any initiatives that your administration has put forward. And it doesn't have to be with to do with attendance or engagement, just anything within your school or building. Or
Curriculum changes.
curriculum changes, absolutely. What else?
Grading changes.
Grading changes, social emotional learning groups. All right, chronic absence monthly letters. Ubering students to school, cultural competency work, right? So we often have all of these different buckets of work going on from an administrative level that trickle down through the district. And this is always kind of the competing priorities, right? There's limited time, there's limited resources. How do we juggle all of these different initiatives? But the reality is that all of this work is excellent, but if we're not getting our kids to school, then the new curriculum that we're generating, the SEL work that we're doing with kids, the cultural competency work we're doing with students and families, it really doesn't have the desired effect if our kids aren't showing up. Next slide, please. All right, so let's get into just some common language to make sure everybody's on the same page. When we think about chronic absence, we have to note that this is different from truancy, and folks often get confused by this. We also have to note that this is different from average daily attendance. So tackling chronic absenteeism really requires this all hands on deck approach because it's a symptom of a much larger social and systemic problem. So chronic absence we can think of as being a result of interrelated, complex, and multifaceted problems. We know this, right? We're thinking about things like lack of access to adequate childcare and healthcare, lack of access to housing or food or transportation or all of the above. Structural barriers such as policies, practices, and other norms that can put marginalized groups at a disadvantage. So we define chronic absence as missing 10% or more of the school year, and it's comprised of any absence. So no matter the reason. So we're looking at all excused, unexcused, and suspensions as contributing to a student's chronic absence. So essentially we think of this, of chronic absence, as any missed learning opportunity. It doesn't matter why the student is out, but they have missed an opportunity for learning. So this is different from truancy, which only tallies unexcused absences, and that's an important point to make. Also different from that average daily attendance, which is how many students show up to school each day. And that data can essentially mask chronic absenteeism because it can look like, oh, a school has 94% average daily attendance. That's great. But within that, you can still have students who are chronically absent. So it's important to dig in to that data and make sure you are recognizing where chronic absence is happening. Next slide, please. So truancy, we think about this difference. It's really not just a difference in how the numbers are tallied, but it's also a mindset shift. So while truancy is typically more punitive and emphasizes compliance, when we think about a chronic absence model, we're thinking about how to cultivate family and student engagement. We're emphasizing the benefit of being present at school. We're using all of those preventative, problem-solving, trauma-sensitive strategies that we know are best practice. To go a little bit more in depth to the mindset shift, next slide, please. Part of this all hands on deck approach is really thinking about how, in terms of a mindset shift, it is not just the job of the principal to worry about attendance or the attendance team members to think about attendance. Instead, it truly needs to be everyone doing their part so that kids want to come to school and that they can get to school in spite of any barriers. Similarly, this work requires that mindset shift from that sort of old school truancy punitive model to a supportive chronic absenteeism model that really has family engagement at the heart of the work. It's also critical to remember, and a shout out to Francisco, he is always excellent about advocating for this point, that it's critical to remember that we are working with families as partners, not as problems. We're working with them. We are not working on them. We are not working for them. The aim is to build a relationship that is genuinely, sincerely partnership focused. And that's a really important nuance as we engage in this work. All right. I added this link in here for folks to peruse at your leisure. This is a Washington Post opinion piece that really talks about the surge in absentee students might require a radical rethink of schools. And it's a great article. It's very interesting, but the research is all pointing in the same direction, that punitive responses along the lines of truancy really do a lot more harm than they do good. So there's a lot of methods that are falling out of favor, but there are still some places that are imposing suspensions as punishment. And I just love this quote. It turns out that punishing kids for missing school by making them miss more school doesn't inspire a great relationship with learning, right? So some of this is just sort of common sense, getting back to what we know makes sense as educators. And all of this strikes at the core of the challenge that our kids need to want to come to school. And that is a huge part of the puzzle. So just wanted to mention that piece when we think about a mindset shift. Next slide, please. All right, so some of you may be familiar with the body of work from Principal Baruti Kafele. He is an amazing educator and inspirational speaker. He spoke at the RESC Alliance Igniting Change conference a couple falls ago at the convention center. That was where I first had the pleasure of listening to him. And his work is all around equity. He was a turnaround principal in New Jersey in the 1980s and 90s. This was way before, equity was sort of a buzzword. He just was advocating for his mostly Black students and trying to make them feel like they had a sense of belonging in their school, and to do everything he could in his power to make school a successful, comfortable, engaging place to be. So there's a short video clip we're going to watch of his work, but he really talks about how we need to meet students where they are as they are. And he talks about how equity is a reflection of an educator's humanity toward the students he or she serves. And I just think that's such a powerful mindset and way to think about the work that we do, and how it requires self-reflection and internal examination about how we are interacting with our students, and by extension with their families, so that we are developing what he terms an equity mindset. And I love this quote. He talks about how it's critical for us to go beyond doing equity or implementing equity to instead being equity. And I see Sarah Dusso nodding there, and I know that your role prior to going back to being principal at your own school is coming from the world of DEI and doing a lot of that work. And I think his message really can resonate with all of us as we engage with our students and our families. So as you watch this video, I just encourage you to think about your own equity mindset and how this may resonate with your work.
I say equity has these three non-negotiables. I just can't negotiate this. I say, number one, equity, student individuality.
Oops, sorry.
That's right.
That's where the each comes from. You and I can't talk equity if we're not talking individuality of young people. We can't do it. Because within my individuality, we're talking about my very specific academic needs, my very specific social needs, my very specific emotional needs. But we're also talking about my own experiential background and its implications for my learning success in a classroom. We're talking about my reality. We're talking about my goals, my aspirations, my experiences. my obstacles, my challenges, my needs and interests. As I said, we're talking about the way I learn, the way I think, the way I process information, the way I make sense out of information. We don't all learn alike. So is it easy? No. But the opposite would be an equality mindset and an equality approach. So if I treat everybody the same, such as what speakers typically do in a keynote address, that won't fly in a classroom learning environment, because you got so much specificity, so much individuality in that room. So individuality matters, but it asks the question, am I visible in my classroom or am I invisible? Second, student cultural identity. So when we talk about young people in a classroom, there's no way in the world that we can deny nor suppress their cultural identity, which is inclusive of their racial, ethnic identity. That can't be suppressed. That can't be denied so that a teacher or a leader or a counselor or whomever could feel comfortable. That has to be accentuated. And number three, my non-negotiables, student voice. With my non-negotiable of student voice under the umbrella of equity, I'm saying to you, all of them have to have a voice, the ability to express themselves, whatever that may be. Is that vehicle there? That my voice matters? That I can articulate my thoughts, my views, my opinion, my ideas, my vantage point, my perspective? Can I do that in the classroom, or because it's not like everyone else, it's denied or it's suppressed? Do I have a voice? Because if I don't have a voice, if my voice is not appreciated and respected, then neither am I.
All right, thank you, Kari. As we go back to the slide deck, I just have a reflection prompt there for you to think about your own equity mindset. If you don't mind going to the next slide, Kari. Thank you. Feel free to jot your thoughts in the chat. This can also be a private reflection if you prefer. You're welcome to unmute and share your thinking, but after looking at this little snippet and thinking about the words from Principal Kafele, how would you describe your personal equity mindset? And then what about your school or district as a whole? Does that mindset that might be in place impact attendance and engagement? How so? So I'd love to just have a short discussion for those folks brave enough in the space to share, or you're more than welcome to drop your thinking in the chat, or this can just be food for thought as you reflect on your own personal growth goals and thinking about your role within the district. So I will look for hands. Feel free to unmute and drop your thinking in the chat. I think that often this piece of the puzzle can get lost when we do attendance and engagement work. We're so often focused on the data, the numbers, thinking about sort of the technical pieces of excused versus unexcused versus truant, etc. And thinking about some of this is really when we think about the 101 and getting back to the basics, what it means to be serving students and families, and approaching that with an equity mindset is a really important piece. All right, let's go ahead and go to the next slide.
Oh, sorry. I was still thinking about my thoughts on equity mindset.
It's okay, I'm glad you're
I had some, yeah.
This graphic we developed really, again, to illustrate this notion that attendance and engagement is at the heart of everything we do. So the mindset that we bring to this work impacts what our educator workforce looks like, what they sound like, how they behave, what they do. Our mindset impacts what we value in our curriculum. And if we center our work in equitable practices, how we are approaching every day in the classrooms in our buildings. And our mindset also impacts how we're creating a building or a district climate and culture, and what that feels like for our students, for our staff, for our families. And lastly, our mindset 100% impacts how we collaborate with families and with our community partners. So this is what it means to have an all hands on deck approach, where educators are shifting their mindset. If these shifts are in place and therefore influencing all of these different angles related to attendance and engagement, then our students and their families will be much more likely to be engaged, to be present, to be successful, and to be showing up to school. Next slide, please. A little bit more data for you, just to think from the US national perspective. This is data from the US Department of Education. Pre-pandemic, we were at about 8 million students who were chronically absent. Post-pandemic, that doubled to over 16 million. So nationwide, these chronic absence rates really remain high, particularly for early elementary and high school students. So Connecticut is not alone in this challenge. It's definitely a national issue, as evidenced by tons and tons of information in the media. Over the last year, that's really spiked, with lots of folks noting that this is a problem, not just in Connecticut. Next slide, please. This slide really illustrates for you what Connecticut's education landscape looks like when we look at our students and different ways of categorizing our students and families, and thinking about, in particular, those students with high needs and how that plays a role in chronic absence data and trends. We have over 200 school districts in the state. And when we look at the disparity between our educators of color and our students of color, that's another piece to think about. When we think about, do students feel like they belong in their school, in their district? Is there somebody who looks like them that they can go to? That definitely is something to be mindful of. The state has done a great job of asking districts to work on increasing educator diversity plans. That was a mandate that came out and was in place last March. I know that folks submitted plans this spring, and it's a challenge, right? There's a dearth of educators of color certified in Connecticut, so working hard to increase that, decrease the barriers and make it so that the pipeline is more conducive to getting educators of color to join the workforce in Connecticut. On the right, you can see our chronic absenteeism rates. As Kari mentioned, we are now down to 17.7% for this past school year, and down from 20% the year before. Still a long way to go to get back to pre-pandemic levels. But I think what's really encouraging is when we actually put numbers of students to those percentages. So this past year, 12,000 more students were no longer chronically absent. The year before that, I believe it was 18,000 students were no longer considered chronically absent. So when we start drilling down to the individual student level, these numbers are really encouraging. So kudos to all of you. It is really hard work that requires a lot of persistence. Next slide, please. So I think this is really speaking to some basics that we know, but it helps to illustrate the exact path that can happen, proven by data and evidence and research over decades, of what happens when a child is chronically absent. So the numbers we saw of over 16 million kids who are chronically absent in this country makes this really, really urgent, right? It tells us just how much attendance matters when we look at this potential pathway. So chronic absence highly correlates with students falling off the path toward academic success. So if we look at this from kind of that negative lens, if you have a child in kindergarten who is chronically absent, that can lead to the inability to read on grade level by grade 3. And then that inability to read on grade level by grade 3 leads to lower academic achievement in middle school. And we can predict then, it's sort of this domino effect, that those students who are not reading on grade level are then 4 times more likely to drop out of high school. But if we flip this on its head and look at it from the positive side, we know that those kids who are attending regularly in the early grades, they perform better on measures not only of academic success, but also when it comes to social and emotional capacities. Those kids are much more likely to read proficiently by the end of 3rd grade, to have passing grades in middle school. They're more likely to graduate high school, and they're much more likely to persist in college and to graduate. So while showing up doesn't guarantee learning, a student who misses school, who misses class, of course, cannot benefit. So if you have a large number of students who are missing school or missing class at the secondary level, then it's an indication of challenges that really require systemic solutions, which is why we need to be thinking about this from sort of that district lens as well as from the building level. Next slide, please. All right. So one thing that is sort of under, I don't want to say under researched, but I don't think we talk about this as much as some other angles of chronic absence, is what we're going to call this ripple effect of chronic absence. Next slide, please. So Kari can just sort of, if she clicks through, you can see this graphic that when we think about who is affected by chronic absence, we're really not only thinking about that one student who has missed class, but we're thinking about the other individual students in the classroom, the students who might be working in groups, the teachers themselves, and then the school as a whole. We know that chronic absence is this complex problem. We know that it's important and has major impacts on a chronically absent student's future, as we just looked at that pathway. But if we think about from this angle of a ripple effect, there are a lot more people affected than we might think about or we might typically consider. So the student who misses class, we know that it's hard for that child to come back to school. We know that it's hard to catch up. There might be confusion. Maybe they don't know what's going on in class. They might feel overwhelmed. And then there are the other individual students, because the teachers spend time reviewing content from the day before with the child who was out. And so then the whole class might get behind. The next group, when we think about students who are working in groups, which is so common, a mainstay of classrooms these days, is that whole team needs to get the work done. And so when team members are absent from that group, the whole team can really suffer. Teachers needing to reteach lessons when students have been out, while keeping other kids engaged with new material, that takes extra time outside of what has been planned for the day. And really, especially when you think about the time and the urgency, every minute is accounted for. And so it becomes very difficult for teachers in that position. Lastly, when we think about the school as a whole, instruction essentially slows down. Achievement can drop. The need for remedial courses increases when you have students who are chronically absent. And that student achievement can take a big hit, which can be costly to the school. So funding can be tied to attendance. And so the resources for the school can actually take a hit as well. So I think it's really important for us to think about this ripple effect instead of just thinking about it in terms of that one child who has missed class repeatedly. Thank you, Kari. All right, does anyone have any observations or thoughts about this idea of a ripple effect of chronic absenteeism and how you've seen this play out in your school or any school that you've worked in across your career? Just give folks time to unmute, share their thinking.
In the last year, I note that Attendance Works and Johns Hopkins University released a study that showed that those schools that have a chronic absence rate of 25% or higher, that it is impacting all the students' learning, that ripple effect that Caroline is talking about, that research is there from Johns Hopkins, and that it isn't just those students who are coming in less frequently.
Any anecdotes, observations, thoughts about this ripple effect?
I think in Hamden, one of the things that we're seeing in terms of what's related to my job with intervention is the problem of how do you handle students who don't attend for tier 1 instruction, and then they fall so far behind, it feels like they need an intervention, but they aren't showing up for that either. So we're stuck in this odd position of we want to help a student academically, but we don't know how to help them when they aren't coming to school.
Thank you, Sue. Absolutely. They might be on your radar. You know that you need to help them. You're seeing this ripple effect of their absences then requiring further intervention, but they're not there to receive the intervention. Emily, I see your hand is up as well.
This is Emily McLean. I was also going to share something very similar to what Sue Schmay just indicated, but also just my experience in, working in schools. I often hear teachers report out the frustration of having students that are consistently absent and having to catch them up and wonder, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to manage this? Also a very selfish reason as the assessment coordinator, trying to get students tested and having a setting that's conducive for their success is challenging enough. But when they're not here, and you have to kind of replicate that process, also creates a challenge. So, in all different capacities, I can see how this can be, the ripple effect is definitely a reality.
Thank you, Emily. Other thoughts on this?
It makes me think of the saying, I like to say that the more time you spend on tier 3 students, those kids who are not coming to school, you do have to address them. But a lot of times our teams will focus all on those students who have missed the most school. You're going to end up with more tier 3 kids. So you really need to put energy towards tier 1 and the kids who are entering tier 2 to find out what's happening early on for that prevention and early intervention. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Kari. Let's go on to the next slide. And a shout out to our partners at Attendance Works, nonprofit based in California. They are an invaluable partner for Connecticut and have been for many, many years. This is a graphic from their work. So folks are likely familiar with MTSS, or multi-tiered system of support for attendance. So when we think about this, we're really looking at what a school has in place in terms of foundational supports, which are promoting what we can call positive conditions for learning. Then we move up to those universal preventions, or for tier 1, also for all students and families. And then we start to really target those students who might be missing 10 to 19% of school. Those are our tier 2 interventions, those early interventions. Tier 3 is when we're really in intensive territory, thinking about students who are missing 20% or more of school days. And this pyramid, this graphic, as Kari mentioned, so often schools they sort of end up focusing on those kids who are in crisis, who are really at that intensive level. But the more that we do that is proactive in terms of those foundational supports, those tier 1 interventions, then hopefully the fewer students are moving up into those more intensive ranges and requiring less intervention. So it is important to prioritize resources, time, funding, energy, commitment to those foundational supports and tier 1 interventions in particular, to try to prevent students moving into tier 2 and tier 3. Next slide, please. This is a great graphic also from Attendance Works that really illustrates the overlap with all of the different pieces that go into creating those positive conditions for learning. So we have the physical and emotional health and safety, thinking about the adults and the students' well-being and emotional competence, academic challenge, engagement, belonging, connection, and support. It is all connected, and those, of course, relationships in the middle are what's so essential for those positive conditions for learning. Next slide, please.
All this activity here.
We wanted to draw your attention to an SDE resource that I think some folks might not be aware that it's on the website. This is the Principles of Family Engagement, the framework for family engagement, and really just thinking carefully about how all of these different pieces intersect when we are engaging with families and sort of thinking about the best practices around that. So we encourage you to check out that framework to make sure that you are really capitalizing and leveraging all of these best practices when it comes to family engagement. And thinking about how that is part of those foundational supports. It's really a tier 1 universal strategy to prevent kids from going into tier 2 and into tier 3. Next slide, please. This is another graphic from Attendance Works. It's really just to help us think about the different reasons why students might be chronically absent. We can think of these as different buckets: barriers, aversion, disengagement, misconceptions. But the main idea here is that we want to be thinking about exactly why a student might be absent, so that then, next slide please, when we think about how to intervene, we're making sure that we're matching the intervention to the reason for absence, which of course requires communication. We can't just be guessing as to why a kid is out. We need to be communicating with them, with the family, and figuring it out so that we can effectively target and intervene accordingly. Next slide, please. These are slides from Attendance Works that really go into not an all-encompassing, but a fairly broad list of different tier 1 universal attendance supports. Also goes into, on the next 2 slides, tier 2 and tier 3. We did want to just highlight for tier 2 that LEAP, the Learner Engagement and Attendance Program, which is a grant, and those some states in Connecticut are funded. We have 25 districts that are funded in Connecticut right now, and this is a home visitor program. But we do know that lots of districts also have home visiting programs. If you are interested in being trained in the LEAP approach, the 101 sessions that Francisco leads are free and open to the entire state, not just to LEAP districts. So feel free to learn more about that and come join a 101 session and get home visitors trained. Thank you, Kari, for adding that to the chat. Next slide, please. All right, so I think I'm just looking at the clock, it's 11:11. I want to make sure that Emily has an opportunity to share the good work that's happening in Hamden. We can maybe save Q&A for the end about this portion and Emily's Hamden presentation, but what is so exciting about Hamden is that they are one of our new LEAP districts, and they really have been doing a tremendous amount of work surrounding attendance and engagement, and they are seeing results from that hard work. And I think all of the basics and sort of these nuts and bolts, different pieces of a structured, big picture, all hands on deck approach that we just went through are very much illustrated in the work that Emily and her colleagues have been doing in Hamden. So Emily is the SRBI and Assessment Coordinator in Hamden, and she is also the newly appointed LEAP District Coordinator for Hamden Public Schools. So we're just going to have an opportunity right now to hear about the good work happening in Hamden, and I will pass it over to Emily.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Caroline. I'm so excited to be here. May I ask, Kari, will you be putting up my?
I need an access code.
Emily, I could try on my part, but we could see if the bands appear again.
Okay.
I do have it up, and you guys could just let me know.
They're still there.
They're still there. Okay.
So can I share my?
Yeah, absolutely, Emily. You could do. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, just give me a 1 minute, everyone. I apologize.
Thank you for your patience. No, don't worry, we have IT at Circ working on it.
And can everyone see it?
We can.
Yes.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you. Okay. As indicated, I'm here today to share a little bit about what Hamden Public Schools is doing to mitigate some of the chronically absenteeism rates that we're seeing. We are doing some really exciting work, so I'm very happy to share with you. To begin, just give you some background about Hamden. We are a district of about of 11 schools. We have 8 elementary schools, 1 middle and 1 high. We also have an alternative and a pre-K school that is combined. We have approximately 5,400 students of very diverse backgrounds that is depicted with this pie chart here to the right side of the screen. Of those race and ethnicities, we represent about 40 countries and have 35 different languages spoken. As with many districts throughout the state of Connecticut, we are challenged with meeting the needs of students that have high needs. Hamden has been identified as an Alliance district and is working hard to support the almost 60% of our students that have been identified as high needs. Most recently in August of 2023, we had an increase in 1 year's time of about 35% of our multilingual learners. So at the close of the June 2024 school year, we have about 392 multilingual learners. The other numbers that are depicted here, I often think to myself, they might even be higher. For example, we have approximately 2,600 students that qualify for free or reduced price meals, but we offer free lunch for everyone throughout the district. So some students don't often apply. So I often think that, you know, right now we have a percentage of 60%. Our reality, however, could be a little bit higher than that. And every day, our educators are working very hard to, as I said, mitigate those needs and best support the needs of our students to improve student achievement. As Kari mentioned in her goals for the summer series, Hamden is really working hard at using our chronically absenteeism data to drive our instruction and develop a plan for what we do to mitigate some of the numbers that we're seeing. We are looking at trend data and, you know, actual grade level and subgroup data. This particular slide, you know, brings to the forefront the 6-year year-end trend that we've seen in Hamden. And as Kari mentioned, many districts throughout the state, pre-pandemic, we were doing okay. We were just a couple of percentage points above the state chronically absentee percentage rate. At the height of the pandemic in 21-22, we were almost at 35% chronically absenteeism rate. I'm excited to report, however, that with the work that we've been doing, our rate is slowly coming down. 22-23, we were at 27.8 and then fell to 22% at the close of this past school year, which is a remarkable reduction from where we were at the height of the pandemic. This is a slide that depicts, again, I keep referencing Kari. One of her goals that she's shared time and time again during Talk Tuesdays are always the data points. And, I use that as a roadmap for the work that we've been doing. So in this particular slide, it's a year in review, last school year, and it gives us the grade level trends of the chronically absent patterns. And just as mentioned, no surprises, we're seeing the same peaks and valleys, if you will. So in kindergarten, we had 23.3. Okay, and then we have a slight dip as students continue on through the grade levels, and then we had the peak. For us, we have a configuration of K-6 schools. So at the end of their elementary career, if you will, in Hamden is 6th grade, we see a slight peak. And then it dips a little when they enter into the middle school. And then, as with many other districts and the state average, our trajectory throughout the grade levels just increases. We use this information, it's a pretty visual, right, that you see, but we really like to use this information to identify trends in what we're seeing in pockets of student cohorts. And we like to ask questions and to guide the work that we're doing. For example, why is there an increase in 6th grade? What is different about students when they enter into the secondary level? Is it engagement? Is it mental health? What are those barriers that are impeding these students from coming into school? So we're trying to take these data points that we have and look at it in all different ways and really use that as a vehicle to begin to ask questions, try to identify the root cause, and then use that information as a vehicle to problem solve and to mitigate some of the numbers that we're seeing. When we talk about the work that we're doing in Hamden, and that, nothing is groundbreaking. I think that in Caroline's presentation, she used, basics and things that we've done time and time in the past, but possibly as a result of the pandemic, might have, for whatever reason, forgotten or moved away from some of the best practices that we always or often employed prior to the pandemic. So a lot of the work that Hamden is really just getting back to the basics, if you will. And one of the most important things that we did was just reestablishing our district data team. And, creating a concrete process where we could gather and analyze data to identify problems of practice and root cause, and then to develop a plan to improve. So over the past 2 years, the problem of practice that we've identified at the district level was chronically absenteeism. So in that analysis, we developed a plan to improve. Some of the steps that we took were to reestablish district and school-based attendance teams. And as a member of our district team, we are few but mighty. There are only 5 of us on the team. And one of the things that we do is religiously and consistently meet, and we try to hold ourselves accountable to the tasks that we have established and set forth for that particular meeting, or we really adhere to the agenda. And I think that's important because it guides our work, and it acts as a beacon where we're focusing our attentions to what we need to accomplish at that very moment in time. We know that there are a lot of steps, a lot of things that we want to accomplish, but we're trying to break it down into small baby steps, if you will, so that we can really do some actionable steps to improve chronic absenteeism. During our work as a district team, we also developed a district attendance protocol. And I think that this really was the nuts and bolts of our work, because it kind of gave buildings a roadmap as to the step-by-step process that they need to do as a school year unfolds, and even throughout the summer. We defined some non-negotiables for schools. We realize that not everyone or every building has the same demographics and resources. So by setting those non-negotiables, such as everyone must have a school attendance team, everyone must participate with the district attendance campaign, everyone must use data and develop a plan to improve. So by setting those non-negotiables for schools, we created a concrete understanding of what they must do as they work on mitigating chronic absenteeism. I am so excited that we adopted the State Department of Education School is Better With You campaign. It was really amazing. It came at such a perfect time for Hampden. Not only were we able to get those fantastic banners for free, hooray, hooray, as well as some additional resources, we were able to district-wide roll out a campaign that sent a positive message to our families. And in a few subsequent slides, I'm going to show you something that we created as a spin-off to this campaign that the state initiated. We also partnered with a third-party company called Everyday Labs. I don't know if anyone is familiar with Everyday Labs, but they send nudges by text and mail to help families better understand their children's attendance. And the letters are written to provide accessible information to families, and actionable information. And this is a research-based company. Their initiatives are research-based. And we find that initially when we started the rollout, we were receiving phone calls from families saying, you know, I received this text message, I received this letter. My child is, is there a problem? Is there an issue? Over time, through promoting positively that this is not a punitive, we caught you, we got you, that so-and-so is absent. It's more a proactive approach to raising awareness about attendance, children's attendance, but also the importance of students coming into school. Additionally, we enhanced our communication with all stakeholders. This includes faculty, staff, families. We are trying to engage community-based stakeholders. So we are trying to positively promote the work that Hampden is doing. We want to highlight the importance of good attendance and the excitement that we have when children are attending school. We also know that we needed to shift our thinking in the approach that we took with attendance, meaning changing our mindset and moving from that punitive and the truancy aspect of attendance, and moving towards meeting families where they're at and engaging families and students to better support them and meet their needs.
Hi, Emily. We just have about 1 more minute just to give you the heads up.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Thank you.
As mentioned, we were recently awarded the LEAP grant. We're so super excited about it. It's an opportunity for us to build those positive relationships with families and help improve attendance. We have 25 home visitors. Our goal this year is to do over 1,000 home visits. Throughout the school year, we'll expand it to other students, but initially we're starting with 7th and 9th graders as the cohort we're tackling. Again, next steps, we're gonna continue to work with meeting, analyzing data, and taking action. We are working to hold everyone accountable: schools, teachers, faculty, staff, myself, everyone accountable to what we say we're going to do, and positively engage our stakeholders. I've heard Kari say it before, it's about relationships, relationships, relationships. And I don't have time to share it. I know I value every
Thanks, Emily Freeze.
I'm
Okay.
sorry I talked so quickly. I was just trying to beat the clock.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, Emily, this is great. And we'll provide also, if it's okay with you, your contact info in case anyone has any questions or maybe some follow-up.
Yes, please, please. It's on one of the slides. I didn't want to belabor anything, but yes,
no, thank
please
you.
feel free to contact me should anyone have any questions, insights. I appreciate any type of networking.
That sounds great. And we'll make sure to share the slides out. So even if you want to view the film too, it will be in there. But Emily, you're always welcome back to share anything else or anything further, as Talk Tuesday school year does begin very shortly. But thank you both, Caroline, Emily. Thank you, Kari, and also for helping with the slide piece. So grateful. I want to remind everybody here, we have another Talk Tuesday summer series session next Tuesday. There is not a break between these two, and that is going to be August 20th. Same time, 10 to 11:30. Your registration link works for both these sessions if you registered. However, if you did not get a chance to have a colleague or a friend register yet, you could share the registration link and Holly could maybe put that into the chat box for you. We do need people to register for this. And we will soon be giving out the registration link for the the school year Talk Tuesday 24-25 series. It will be coming out very shortly. We do thank you guys today. Next Tuesday is going to be about data monitoring. So we have Brianna Hennessy coming back and her colleague as well, Shankar, and we will have more information then. So thank you. Have a wonderful day, everybody.